And the United Nations chief says peace talks between the US and Iran are likely to continue after a meeting between the UN and Pakistan's foreign minister. Donald Trump has confirmed negotiations may resume in 2 days while his military blocks the Strait of Hormuz. He claims more than 10,000 sailors, Marines and airmen, along with over a dozen warships and aircraft, are executing the mission to blockade ships entering and departing Iranian ports. For more, let's go live to Brent Sadler, Senior Research Fellow for Naval Warfare and Advanced Technology at the Heritage Foundation. Brent, thank you so much for joining us. What is your reaction on that announcement about the US Central Command releasing the statement a couple of hours ago about the 10,000 US sailors, Marine and Airmen?
Oh, it's a good update of the amount of forces that have been in the region for quite a while now. Actually, it's not an uptick in the recent past, the last week or so, certainly not during the failed negotiations last weekend. But it's going to have to be sustained for a while to enforce, but also to continue to apply the pressure, which appears to be shifting much more onto the economic side of things. And also Iran's, few remaining, I guess, reliable trade partners like Beijing to try to put more pressure on the regime in Tehran to capitulate and concede points on like its nuclear weapons program.
And more on Iran, what options do they really have? The Wall Street Journal reporting this morning that Iran built a stockpile of oil outside the Strait of Hormuz that could help them. What do they need there?
Well, I wouldn't call it a conscious effort on their part to build it up. It's their ships were in transit or they were caught in dark trafficking, and so they were kind of impounded or they were held. But it is no secret about $1 billion value of their crude oil is all over the world waiting for a customer. So yes, there is that, but they don't have necessarily access to the proceeds if they were to be sold. But economically, there's really nothing much more the Iranians can do but try to see if the Chinese will challenge and erode the blockade. No indication of that. There's only really one Chinese flagged vessel, and that's the key distinction here is what vessels are flagged, because then they come under the authority of the nation that's flagged. There's only one of those, last check in the last 24 hours, that's anywhere near the Straits of Hormuz, or at least proceeding to enter it. So very unlikely. The economic front, militarily, they're degraded to such a far extent. There's no serious threat. That's not to say zero. And then it's really just in the diplomatic and information realm, which pretty clearly the last negotiation of the weekend, the negotiators from Tehran, as they went to Pakistan and on their way back, they weren't talking to the Trump administration. They were rather trying to get a message through to his political opponents. So not a sincere negotiation on the Iranians' parts. We'll see if that changes, but their diplomatic, capital is fast eroding as well.
And Brent, how significant are the naval mines? And we're also hearing that some of them can't even be located.
So that is a war crime, placing mines in international waters and then losing track of it or having no longer any positive control. In some of the pictures, if those are the types of mines they place, look like vintage World War I, there's no safety mechanisms that are also mandated by the Hague Convention going all the way back to 1905, 1906 timeframe. So it has been reported that a dozen or so of these mines have been placed in international waters by the Iranians. That's not a huge number, but still enough to cause some consternation. The U.S. has since created what's called a Q route, or at least cleared out a path where there's free of mines or a threat, and shipping can pass through. That, of course, you're going to have to sustain that to ensure that none of these mines, if they were floating mines, don't drift into this corridor, this safe corridor.
And more on the additional peace talks with the US and Iran that could be happening over the next 2 days. Of course, we had that 21-hour conversation and no deal was done. What do you think could potentially come out of the next talks?
Well, if Tehran is serious, and I think if anyone that's ever bought a Persian rug understands how this process works, we basically walked out of the store, in effect. And so now they're coming back, I think, much more sincere, more realistic deal. I mean, their 10-point plan that they floated was dead on arrival and was ridiculous to anyone that follows what's been going on in these relations with this regime for many years. So perhaps they might leak a new list. That would be ill-advised, but at least something more sincere. again, as their leverage is rapidly evaporating on the economic, the military, and the diplomatic front across the board.
Brent Sadler, as always, we really appreciate your time and analysis. Thank you so much.